Welcome to another Airbrush Asylum video. In this tutorial video, I'm going to show you how I airbrushed this car wreck artwork on the side of the trike body that I'm currently working on. I've split this video tutorial up into 3 different videos, so be sure to check out all 3 parts so that you can see all of the artwork and how it was created. In part 1, which is the one that you're watching right now, you're going to see how I build up all of the base colors and go right up until some of the highlights. Part 2, we're going to focus on the rust and getting that faux patina effect on there. And then part 3, I'm going to show you how I created the background for this particular artwork. So be sure to check out all of the parts so that you can see the artwork in its entirety. So let's get straight into it right now. So what you've probably already noticed is that I've made a few paper templates. I've printed these out just on normal copy paper to scale, and then I'm cutting out some of my darker values and then also some of the detail areas, as you can see now, cutting out those parts of the grill. So this is just going to help me to essentially sketch the artwork on without using any pencil. So I like to use these paper templates so that I can get my base color down and some of the tonal values in there right from the get-go, and then I can freehand airbrush my highlights and my other tones in there to create my particular artwork. And we're going to kick that off right now with starting with our negative part of the template and a light blue. So this is just white mixed with some blue until you're happy with the strength of the particular color. You'll notice I haven't put a white base down because this blue has so much white in it that it's already opaquing over that candy red base color that's existing on the trike already. The trike body has been prepared just with wet sanding the surface, so the entire body was wet sanded using a 1200 or even 800 wet and dry sandpaper, depending on what you're doing. So I'd imagine my painter for this particular one, he would have prepped it all with a 1200 wet and dry, just because we are working on top of a candy color. So now that I have sprayed my base in blue, now I'm using my paper template for my shading that I've cut out. And I'm just lining that up against the base color as accurately as possible. And I'm going to use my shadow tone, which is coming up next, which will be black. And I'm going to spray in those particular areas, and that's already going to begin to show us what the artwork is starting to look like. Okay, so now I have some Trident black in my airbrush, and I'm currently using a CMC Plus Micron. This runs a 0.23mm needle. I will pop some links in the description below to products that I'm using in this particular video, as well as all the other parts, so that if you're interested to purchase or you want to just get some more information, you're more than welcome to check those out. They should be helpful for you. And you'll notice here that I'm not just flat toning these areas, I'm utilizing my reference and I'm starting to create some of that interior detailing as well. I don't just want to flat tone everywhere if it's not showcasing that on the reference. So if this is the first time watching one of my videos, then welcome. For everyone else, welcome back. I hope that you are enjoying this video so far. If you do like this sort of content and you find that it would be helpful to others, by all means share it out. And if you haven't already, feel free to hit subscribe, tap on that bell icon, and that'll notify you every time I put out new content. Okay, so pretty happy with the black. Now I'm going to use another paper template and I'm going to spray in some of the mid sections. So these are going to be done in a sepia brown. So using my fingers as well just to keep the template in place. I'm just spraying in some of those areas where I want my sepia. I'm also going to work in the grill area. I'm not just going to flat tone in that spot. So again, going back to my reference and checking to see what sort of detailing is in that particular space. I'm trying to replicate that as best as possible. And I'm really just using my reference as a loose sort of guide. I'm altering this image to suit the shape of the trike and also the look. I'm not going for that complete photorealism. It's still going to be a little bit stylized, but I do still hope that you get lots out of this particular tutorial video, because there's lots of different little elements that are quite fun to be airbrushing, and I'm sure you'll learn lots from it. You'll also notice there that some of the darker rendering that I'm doing at the moment, I'm using a transparent black. So this is just transparent base mixed with the amount of black that you're happy with. So you mix the transparent base with your reducer first, and then add drops of black until you're happy with the intensity of it, and you can make up different strengths of black, so that way you can get different tonal values without risking opaquing over what you've already done, any sort of detail that you've done. That's what the benefit of using a transparent black is, as a regular black will just opaque over everything, and that can be good, but for this particular artwork I don't want to do that in these areas as such. I want to retain some of the detailing that I'm gradually building. So switching back to my sepia now, and I'm going to be doing some freehand airbrushing just to start bringing out some of these shaded areas and further detailing the car wreck. So just grabbing my paper template there and using that to my advantage to create any of those sharp shadows that we need in this particular design. So don't try and do things like that freehand. If they're definitely sharp and that shadow is extremely defined, then I always recommend using a paper mask or masking to get that effect, and then you can utilize your freehand airbrushing as well to get that different balance, and that adds to the realism of the artwork. So as well as my paper templates, I'm using some freehand shields at the moment. These shields that you see here at the moment are part of my fire tool set, so a set of 4 templates. So if you want to check those out, I'll also pop a link in the description below, and they're extremely handy. They've got all different curves, so obviously they're designed to create real fire, but you can utilize them for lots of different artworks. They also work really well for portraits, and just getting those sharp shadows when you need them, they're essential for that. So just remember to keep following your reference, use that as your guide, and again, using the templates for those defined sharp edges. You can also lift up your template off the surface and that'll give you a bit of a softer edge, so use that to your advantage as well. It's still going to give you that somewhat defined edge, more so than if you just do it freehand. So you can really utilize these freehand shields to create different effects where necessary and replicate what you're trying to do. Another good effect is if you're using a texture template, you can actually move the template as you're spraying through it to get all sorts of different texture effects. So also, as the video progresses, keep an eye on my trigger finger. You'll really notice there that I keep that air on all the time and I'm just pulling back and forth for a little bit of paint to come out, especially when I'm working this closely to the surface of the artwork. You want to really make sure that you've got your airbrush controlled so that it doesn't spider out on the work that you've already completed. It's also making use of the paper edge there, the straight edge, so keep that in mind. That works really well. And if you want the straight edge to stop, you can actually curl the bit of paper up and then that will feather out your overspray and leave that defined edge right the way through. Again, just mixing it up with a bit of freehand airbrushing as well as paper templates and freehand templates, putting in some more of those fine detail spots. Notice there I deliberately blew out one of those little dents in there. So switching to white now and adding some of those real fine white highlights to further detail the car body. Apologies for the background rainy noise and a bit of wind. It was particularly stormy weather when this was filmed. So you notice it's just a mixture of going up really close with that white, as well as adding some of those softer highlights in there as well to show the different steps and damage within the panels. So the airbrush that I'm using for these white highlights is the CMSB Micron. This one runs a 0.18mm needle, so it's really good for the fine detailing. And I do over thin my white so that it flows really nicely and you get less tip drying. So this is a side feed airbrush as well, so you notice the cup is out of the way, which just helps with my line of sight, which is really handy when you are doing all this fine work. Okay, so here we have a few pictures of the recap so far of what we've gone through in this particular video. So the actual underpainting. I do hope that you enjoyed watching part 1 of this video. Be sure to check out part 2. Until next time, thanks for watching. Go grab your airbrush, do some amazing artwork yourself, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Bye for now.